Running a business is not a DIY project. It's not possible. You cannot possibly know everything you need to know across all those different areas. I certainly don't, and I've been studying it for 20 years. So, I say to clients, look, you've got to be able to listen. You've got to get the right people around you that can help you and advise you and guide you to get you the outcomes you want.
Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Justin Goodbread Show. Man, I'm excited to have a friend of mine by the name of Craig West, who is from Australia with us today. Let me tell you a bit about Craig. Craig and I were both inducted into what the Exit Planning Institute calls a Circle of Excellence. Now, I don't know why I'm there, but I know why Craig was there. I mean, this guy is a stud. He has been a business owner for many, many, many decades. He runs a company that actually has a software package that does exit planning and teaches other advisors abroad and in the United States how to actually help business owners prepare for the exit of the company. So I'm excited to have Craig with me, a fellow certified exit planning advisor, a fellow, what does Scott call us, the Hall of Fame in the exit world, the fellow Hall of Famer, a fellow person on stage who's not afraid to ruffle some feathers like me, because we can both do it. Man, Craig, I'm glad to have you with us on the show today. How are you, sir?
Fantastic, Justin. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, I'm excited to have you here, buddy. I don't think I've ever had anybody from down under on the podcast as a guest. So I think you're the first, brother.
Fantastic. I like being first. It's good.
So, I always talk about being a business owner here in the United States, but from your perspective, when you look at business ownership right now in Australia, how are you viewing the landscape?
Australia's, we're often called the lucky country. We're a long way away from the rest of the world, which is bad because it takes me 15 hours to come and see you guys. But it's also good because we're sort of a little bit isolated, and we closed our borders during COVID, and so we weren't as badly affected as a lot of places were. We have a fairly lucrative minerals and resources background. So, our exports and trade are really positive. They always have been for many, literally 100 years. Yep. And that's not going to stop anytime soon. So we are the lucky country. We've got, a pretty good economy, a pretty stable political system, and, we enjoy the benefits of that. Most Australians that start businesses do pretty well. We had a bloody terrible prime minister here recently who used to say in terrible Aussie, slang, if you have a go, you'll get a go. And as bad as that guy was, I think that saying is actually pretty true in Australia. There is opportunity here. You can do well. I don't think we celebrate entrepreneurship as much as you do in the United States. I think there's a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome where people don't celebrate success as much as we probably should. But that's something to be learned. But, it's a good environment. It's a safe place to live. It's comfortable. The climate's fantastic. I read something the other day. We've got 10,900 different beaches here in Australia. So, it's a pretty nice place to be. You can't complain.
I can't wait to get over there. Emily and I, as I was mentioning to you off camera, Emily and I have been talking about it. I was like, Emily, let's just go over and see Craig over in Australia over the Christmas break or whatever. So maybe I can twist her arm, kids going here, there, and everywhere. But so, Craig, as a business owner, I want you to introduce yourself, because I don't think I would ever do anybody justice on who we are as business owners. But who is Craig West, the business owner? What is your background experience, kind of the highlight of your life in the business ownership seat?
Yeah, look, I think I've only been an employee for maybe 2 years of my life, and I struggled with that. I didn't enjoy it. I left school. I became a management trainee for a large bank here, and I started studying accounting at university. I was a management trainee in their program, and they put me through university and so on. I didn't mind the study or the university. I hated working for the bank. I found that boring as anything, and I didn't think I was helping anybody do anything useful. And in fact, on my 12-month anniversary, the branch manager where I used to work came in and said to me, we think you're going really well here. If you stay for another 20 years, you could have my job. And I resigned the next day. I went, I can't do this. I'm out. I've got to go. So I left. I worked for a few other people in the meantime, but I studied accounting. I started an accounting firm as a CPA. I was working with business owner clients. That was my thing. I didn't take mum and dad, accounting work. I just looked after business owners because I sort of understood they really needed help. And very quickly, when I first started that business, that's nearly 30 years ago now. When I first started that business, I started to have owners asking about retirement, asking about selling their business, asking about, how do I get my kids prepared to take over the business? And I did a bit of research, looked around, found not much at all, certainly nothing in Australia that could help those people. And so interestingly, back in the early days, did the research, found the Exit Planning Institute, found a guy called Peter Chrisman, and actually spoke to Peter on the phone about exit planning and what it was and SEPA and so on. And he convinced me to actually fly over to Chicago and do this course called the Certified Exit Planning Advisor, which I did. And I came back and started a business called Succession Plus. So in 2009, I started a consulting firm. We didn't do any accounting work at all. All we did was exit planning. And that was unheard of in Australia. And in fact, I remember speaking at conferences, I'd get asked to speak at a conference for a business network group, and I'd talk about exit planning. And I could literally see people looking at me going, what is this guy on about? Like, what is he talking about? This guy's a nut, like crazy. And then go forward 15 years, that business is now by far the largest consulting firm in Australia that does succession and exit planning. We've developed a sort of 21-step methodology that we follow with all our clients. That methodology is now used in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the US. And sort of 2-3 years ago, I actually looked at the US market, and obviously it's the biggest and best market in the world in terms of business owners and entrepreneurship. And I thought, I can probably do something there, but I didn't want to do it as a consultant. I thought it was far more useful to actually take the intellectual property that I developed and turn it into a software package. And so in 2022, we launched Capitalize, which is the software that we use for exit planning. That has been brilliantly received in the United States. That business is going really well. Lots of exit planning advisors using it. And it was really interesting because I sold a business here in Australia, nearly not quite 20 years ago, but more than 15 now. And, I remember valuing that business at the start. It was an accounting client of mine. I valued the business. They used to do water filters in the old days when you did water filters in offices, and they did that. And I valued the business at about $8 million. And I worked with the guy for 3 years. I chaired his monthly board meetings, set up employee ownership, did a whole stack of things that we do now naturally as part of an exit planning assignment. We ended up selling that business for $22 million. And big win, big win. And the owner, I'll never forget, the owner sent me a card, and in the card it just said, thank you, you've done a great job. We couldn't have done without you. But what he also sent me was a receipt for a $5 million donation that he'd made to charity. And he said, I could not have done this if we sold for $8 million. Because he sold for 22, he donated $5 million to charity. And I'll never forget that very night when I was sat at home with that, I thought I have to do a lot more of this. Because to me, yes, I love that. That guy was a great client. We're actually good mates. I still talk to him now. He had a great business and he had some great people. But the fact that process that we were able to work with him through for 3 years, that he could sell for 22 and not 8, and therefore not just help him and his family and his kids, but help this charity with $5 million, I thought that is the kind of work I want to do.
Wow.
I was like on a high for a month, walking around
awesome.
telling people this story, going, oh my God, you've got no idea what just happened. And so then I decided I got to do this for as many business owners as possible, and hence the consulting firm and then the software business. So now, I'm really pleased. There's a lot of people all around the world using the methodology and the software to help owners maximize their value and exit, which is exactly what drove me to that successful story with that one client. I hope there's thousands of clients like that in the future.
Absolutely. And friends, I'll tell you that the software for those professional advisors, because Craig, you might know, we have a ton of CFPs, CPAs, attorneys all around the world who listen to this particular show. So for those professionals out there who want to look at the software, we're going to drop a link to Capitalize in the show notes below. I can tell you that it is paramount. That's what I was joking about, half joking about, is I can't wait to get to Australia and have a one-on-one and walk through the software even deeper than what I've already seen. It is a powerful tool, friends. So Craig, we'll drop a link below for your particular software. And those professional advisors, y'all take a look at it. It's hands down second to none out there. So Craig, I want to go back to this success, man. $5 million to a charity. I have no doubt that you've seen dozens, if not hundreds, of what I'm going to call successful business owners. You call them good clients. I like that term, good clients. From your experience, when you look at the business owner landscape, what are maybe one or two traits that you see that these good clients have, that these successful business owners have, that perhaps the average business owner is just missing?
I think there's two, and I think the two occur, 99 times out of 100 in really successful people. One is they're very happy to take risks. They understand risk. So they're not reckless. They don't do stupid things, but they're happy to take risks. They're happy to do things that no one else has done before. They're happy to be the first to try something or to develop something or to launch a new product or whatever. And I think the second one is they're smart enough to realize they don't know everything and they take advice. The clients that I can't work with, and I don't, is clients who don't listen and who won't take advice, who think they know more, who think they can do it themselves. And, I said to a client just last week, running a business is not a DIY project. It's not possible. You cannot possibly know everything you need to know across all those different areas. I certainly don't, and I've been studying it for 20 years. So, I say to clients, look, you've got to be able to listen. You've got to get the right people around you that can help you and advise you and guide you to get you the outcomes you want. Managed risk taking, they're good at that. And I think they're good at surrounding themselves with smart people. They don't need to be the smart guy in the room. They're happy to get good advice, listen to it, and act on it.
To that last point, I'm sure that there's certain number of pain points, as a business owner myself now for 30 years, just like you, I've only had a little stint as a W-2 employee and I don't like it, right? I like being a business owner, but man, you hit the nail on the head. There's no way that we can know it all. I like the team approach, but what is that pain point or probably the most common pain points you see that a business owner experiences to say where they wave the white flag of surrender? It's like, I need help. I need somebody to come inside and help me on my business, help me grow, scale, transition, prepare for an exit. What are the most common things they're like, dude, I need help because this happened?
There's probably a couple of things that I see a lot. I think one is, most people go into business because they're an expert at something. They might be an expert at fixing air conditioning or painting houses or writing legal documents or designing buildings if you're an architect, right? But there comes a point as a business owner where you stop doing much of that. And now your actual day-to-day role is managing people, dealing with issues, solving marketing problems, doing all this other stuff that's not what you really want to do and not what your background is. So your expertise suddenly becomes not irrelevant, but no longer used as much as it is. If I'm an architect, I'm no longer designing beautiful buildings. I'm dealing with HR problems and people, and I've got to recruit people. And I think there comes a point where that becomes really frustrating. Secondly, I think it becomes a point where the business becomes a scale and a size where your expertise no longer helps. You can't solve the problems in a 100-person architecture practice by being a better architect. It doesn't help. It doesn't make any difference, actually. It probably makes it worse. So there becomes a point where, you start working longer hours. You're frustrated that you can't do what you really want to do, as in design beautiful buildings. Your skills no longer impact the business the way they used to. And then you feel stuck. Then you go, I'm working stupid hours. I'm not making as much money as I used to. And why am I doing this? And, the family, I don't get to see the family enough. I can never do what I want to do because I'm so busy. It becomes really frustrating. And I get a lot of owners talk about stuck. I'm stuck in this business. I worked 80 hours last week and I'm only making, $150,000 a year when I should be making. And so that feeling, that's the point where people say, okay, I need help. That's when really they start to, unfortunately, some of them wait too long and they get into real trouble. But I think that's the point where people recognize, okay, I need help here. I need to do something.
I would say a small portion who says, yes, I need help. But as you said, some wait too long. What's the key mistake that they make in that they don't seek the counsel and instead they find themselves, as you just put it, waiting too long? Is there one or two mistakes that they lean into that I'm going to call them rookie mistakes that you and I might see on a regular basis?
I think they try to fix it by working harder.
Yeah.
I think they think, if I'm an architect and we're not making enough money, I'll just do more architecture work. And that means I'm working 80, 90, 100 hours a week. I'm in the office Saturday. I'm working Sunday. I'm doing emails at 11 o'clock at night, all that sort of stuff. And that never works. They think, the owner thinks, and it's understandable. They think, I just need to work harder and I need to get my people to work harder. And if we just work harder, we'll get better outcomes and therefore the business will be okay. And it just becomes this revolving, the mouse on the wheel. You're running harder and harder and harder, but you're not getting anywhere. And then it becomes really frustrating. That's when something breaks. Either, and it's not just the business that breaks, it might be the person. You have a health issue or you've got, a breakdown or a divorce or, those sorts of things that really are quite traumatic events. And that's often, unfortunately, sometimes that's what's needed for people to just stop and go, hang on a minute, this doesn't work. There's no sense here. Yeah. I'm not making any progress. I've got to do something different.
There was a friend who's no longer with us here. That about 10 years ago, we had a race to see who reached $10 million in net worth first. And he was a good guy, loved the guy to death. And I could see exactly what was happening in his life, as you just alluded to. If I work harder. And I have his letter that I wrote him, a handwritten. I don't write a lot of handwritten letters, Craig. I like to type, but I wrote him a handwritten letter. I said, "Hey, friend, if you're not careful, you're going to end up with health issues, family issues, finance issues, or something, unless you let go to scale. You got to let go to grow. It's like in order to multiply, you got to divide." And he wrote me a nice little letter back. "I disagree with you, Justin. I wish you the best." I kept that letter. Well, candidly, Craig, last year he passed away of a massive heart attack in his early 40s. His wife sent me this letter. She sent me the letter I handwrote him, and she sent it to me with a little card. She said, "Justin, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for all the help you had in our family. I wish he would have listened to you 6 years ago when you wrote him this letter. We talked about this letter often. I wish he would have." And his family now is, and I'm not saying that I could see prophesy or whatever, but Craig, you and I see this, man, day in, day out, where business owners, just because we're so capable and because we're so gifted and because we're full of tenacity and we'll charge you out with a water pistol, that we see this happen. So it's pretty powerful. But I want to kind of flip the script. You know, you and I have had the opportunity to work with business owners who I like to say, I can teach you how you can double your net worth in 18 to 36 months. I know how to do it. You know how to do it. We see this on a regular basis. So perhaps tell me one of your most recent successes. Obviously, keep everything confidential, but what's one of the most recent successes that you've seen with a business owner who were struggling? And then here's Liberty. You gave me one example of the $5 million. That's powerful. Do you have another one that you could share with the audience on the power of value acceleration, or what we learned as SEPAs and how we help people?
Yeah, I think the value acceleration piece is really fundamentally changes the owner's approach to their business. I think when owners start to understand their business is one of their financial assets, they've got many, most business owners have got property and they've got a stock portfolio, whatever they've got, but their business is a substantial asset for most of them. It's probably most of their net worth is tied up in and around that business. When they start to treat it like a business, they start to understand that it's an asset and it needs to be managed like an asset, the same as any other portfolio of investment would be. And that becomes value acceleration. They start to think about, well, if that's an asset, how do I increase the value of that asset? And there's a couple of fundamental things that we work on that we say, well, the first thing is it can't be a business if it's all about you.
Yep.
If you're running a business and everything depends on you, you're the central hub for everything, you're the reason why things don't get done quickly, then it's not a business, it's a job.
Yep.
And that's not saleable, it's not transferable, it can't become a significant company if it sits like that. So it's really about understanding how you treat your business as an asset, how you, as you said, you've got to step away, you've got to, to multiply, you've got to divide, you've got to be able to recognize that there are other key people. And I think that's quite empowering for business owners. As soon as they get to that point where they can start to see other people working with them to add value in their business, that becomes quite successful. We do a lot of work in Australia in the employee ownership space. Not necessarily, our rules are different to the United States, but not necessarily selling the entire business to the ESOP, although we've got a few clients that do that. Most of our business owners now recognize there are several key people in and around their business that with equity ownership can treat the business like their own investment asset and therefore work on value acceleration. So instead of thinking about what do I do today to make more sales or what do I do today to do whatever, it's about what do I do over the next 3 to 5 years to make this asset more valuable, more significant, less dependent on key people, etc. And that's quite a rewarding journey. Most owners, they find it difficult to start with, but once they get used to it, it becomes the mode of operation, and then it becomes, almost self-fulfilling. That, if you do focus on that all day, every day, it will end up happening. And then you do create a significant company.
I love it. Friends, Craig is speaking from experience here. And so I think this next question I have for you, I only have 2 more questions for you, Craig. And I think this next question is, this is a softball pitch, but I think it's one the audience, I want to drive home. You are a business coach. You've coached people for decades. You've had coaches in your life. We've talked about this before, about we've had coaches both speak into our lives and how we believe in coaching. So when you're talking with the business owners who are listening and they're saying, man, Craig, I just, a coach is going to charge me some money. They're going to help me. I know they're going to try to point out my blind sides. I know they're going to focus, especially if they're CEPAs, we're going to focus on value acceleration. We're going to look on how we can double your net worth in 18, 36 months, as you and I both know is extremely possible. So I guess, from that seat of a business owner who has hired coaches, as well as being a coach yourself, what is the biggest benefit you see that a business owner gains when they seek the expertise and actually makes the decision to hire a coach like Craig West?
I think there's probably a couple of different things that business owners sort of really can get the benefit of. One is, it's the old, you can't see what's going on in your business day to day as it grows because there's so much happening. You can't see the wood for the trees. You can't understand the minutiae of all the different things that need to happen to make you successful because you're right in the thick of it. You need to step back. And I think as a coach or a mentor or an exit planning advisor, one of the things we offer is the ability to sort of literally pick the owner up, lift them out of their business and then say, stop, have a look at this. That you talked about that capitalized software. The first thing we do there is a really detailed analysis of the business. And it's a really interesting, it's a very raw, honest experience for most business owners. You talk about your baby's ugly. I mean, that's exactly what it is, showing people the reality that, you've worked really hard there. I get that, but you haven't built a significant company because of these 5 things. Yep. There's 5 things that are really struggling in this business, and a lot of it comes back to you. The second thing is I think people need the encouragement and the support and the conviction of somebody that says you're doing the right thing, because I think the other side of your baby's ugly is it's hard work being a business owner. It's risky, it's time consuming, you put a lot on the line, you sacrifice family time and all sorts of other things. And I think sometimes people don't get to stop and enjoy the success and go, you know what, I've got 50 people working for me here. That's 50 families that are living and being rewarded off the back of this business that I built. That is significant. Even if you've got 2 people, that's significant. But as you start to talk to these owners that have got 50 or 100 people, I think you've got to stop and celebrate that level of success. And I think a coach can actually help you recognize what's going on, talk to those people and understand that, there's a balance between your baby's ugly and there's some things we need to do, but it's significant as well because you're supporting 50 families. And to me, whether doesn't matter which country you're located in, that's significant for your own family and yourself, but also for those other 50 families. And in some cases, lots of cases, as a business owner, that's significant for the local community and the school that you donate money to and the football or baseball or whatever, basketball club that you support financially. And, those sorts of things I think are quite significant. And sometimes as business owners, we skip over that because we've got so much to do. So I think a coach's ability to sort of bring in external experience and expertise, but also encouragement and, the ability to lift the owner out of their business, have a real good look at what's going on. And then I think, often coaches are the ones that have the challenging conversation. Yep. The one that says, you know what, this is not working. You've got some issues here and we need to address them. Yep. And often as a business owner, you've got 2 dynamics. You either got family and personal friends who maybe don't know all the details of what you do and how you do it and what your financials look like and the fact that you struggled last month to have enough money to pay the payroll and all those things that go on. On one side, you've got that. On the other side, you've got all your employees who look up to you as this is the boss and, I can't question him or her and I can't ask her what, and so you're sort of a bit isolated. You're on your own. You're doing it tough. You've got this dynamic happening where people look up to you as this man owns a business or this lady owns a business and it's going really well, but they don't know the full story. And so I think you can become quite lonely. So one of the things a coach should be is a sounding board and, someone you can literally pick up the phone to and go, hey, Justin, I'm thinking about this, but I really want to run it past you before I press the button because I'm just not sure. Or I haven't got anyone to run that past and test it with. And I think that benefit is quite significant.
Craig, that's a mouthful what you just went over, but there was like several nuggets of wisdom that I want to pull out and kind of lean into here. One of the first one is not knowing how to celebrate success. I got to tell you, brother, that's a hard one for me. I've been third business owner 30 years. And for me to actually stop, take a moment and go do something fun with my family, I feel guilty whenever I take some time off because it's like, I know what I can do. I still can work. And it's just like this drive and this passion. So I think that's a powerful nugget you pulled out there. Number one. Number two, I think the way that you utilize the sounding board, many times my coach, and I'm sure for you to say that you've experienced probably the same thing. It's more, they just sit there and just say, just talk to me. And I have an opportunity to be authentic and raw and unguarded and who I am, express my concerns, my ambitions, my dreams. And when I talk about my dreams, Craig, to my friends or family members or even my employees, they look at me like a cow looking at a new gate, man. They're like, dude, that is crazy. You're thinking big because my dreams are huge, just like yours are. You and I have had some time to talk about it. So, man, those are some pearls of wisdom that you've just shared there. I guess I want to wrap this up with this question that I ask every guest on the podcast, because, you're spewing out wisdom from that of a business owner, but I want to dig into wisdom of Craig West. I want to dig into this particular question. I'll ask you the question. I'll tell you the reason for asking it. But my question is this: if you're end of your life, you have your grandkids, your kids, your great grandkids, maybe those closest handful of friends that you can name. You're all sitting in the living room and one of the grandkids says, Papa, or whatever they call you, or whatever they will call you in the future. Hey, Papa, what is one piece of advice you can give me? And you've now lived this decades of being an advisor, a coach, a business owner, an entrepreneur, a developer, all these things, plus being a dad, being a husband, being a grandfather, being a citizen. What is that one piece of advice that you would give those that you know and you love the deepest?
I think it's one key thing is dream big and follow that dream no matter what the cost is. And I don't think it actually matters whether you ever get to the dream. I think it's about following the dream. I think a lot of people don't dream big. I think they think small. I think they don't have a big enough view of what they could do and what they could influence. And I'm not necessarily talking about becoming a multi-billionaire. Right. That may not be your dream at all. It may be something completely different. But whatever it is, I think people can often get put off their dreams because someone says, oh, that's crazy, you'll never get that done. Or, oh man, you can't do that. No one's done that. 3 people have tried before. Or even yourself. I mean, I've had an example in business where the dream you first have didn't work out for whatever reason, and you fail and it doesn't work, and you go, you know what? It's not because the dream was wrong. Something else happened that meant you didn't get there. I get that. And that happens all the time. But the really strong, successful, happy people, the people that are, as you said, lying on their deathbed, looking back, going, you know what? I did good. Yeah. Are the people that dream big and they follow that dream no matter what people say, no matter what happens to them, they just keep going.
You reminded me of my dad just then, Craig. Whenever I asked my dad that same question, because I've asked that question now for a couple hundred people, and your answer almost mirrored my father. He said, son, whenever I land on my deathbed, I want to look back and say, I left it all on the field. I did everything that was in my heart. I did everything that I knew how to do that was in my grasp, and I left it all on the field. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're saying. Put the dream out there and then charge hell with a water pistol, man. Make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Brother Craig, this has been amazing, man. So I know we're going to drop Capitalize into the chat and into the show notes so people can see a little bit more, because we have so many professional advisors, and I obviously want to direct them to your product. It's a powerful product, and we'll put that in the show notes. But, we do have individuals in Australia who listen to us. It's our second largest audience. So if somebody perhaps in Australia said, hey, Craig, I know I'm over here. I'm in down under with you, right? The land down under. I want to chat with you. What's the best way for them to connect with you? Is it through social media? Is it through a website?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. You'll find me pretty easily on LinkedIn. Okay. Our website for Capitalize or Succession Plus is pretty easy to find. I'm very happy to talk to people, and I'm very happy, including you, Justin, for people to come down and visit me here. Come down to Australia and say good day anytime you like.
I hear you.
Yeah, happy for people to reach out. Love to help how I can.
Hey, well, friends, Craig means that. He's a man of his word, and you're not going to meet a better business person than this man right here. So, Craig, thank you so much for coming on the show today, brother. Appreciate it coming on.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
All right, friends. Well, there we go. Craig West. Let me tell you, I'll put a link in the show notes to his LinkedIn bio. We'll put a link to Capitalize in there. But friends, I'm telling you, you want to read behind this man. He is very experienced. And for those of you who are down under, you've got to know Craig. He is like the mayor. He's like the governor. I mean, he knows everybody in the business world over there. He's a stud. Like I always say, friends, life is hard. It is, but life is good. We're blessed people. And I challenge every week, and I don't want this to go by loosely. I want to challenge you yet again to go out and make it a great day. And I say that because, as Craig just said, you've got dreams, you've got big visions, you've got desires. Go out and make them happen, friends. Until next time, see you later.